Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see.
In the 4 years that I've been involved in working in this area, I've been very impressed at the amount of work that's gotten done locally. There's so many people working so hard who've had such success within their local communities in terms of getting things done, in terms of getting Narcan available. Even now we even have police involved. I mean, this is a new era locally. But we're here because of the fact that there has been so little change within the federal government in those same years. And the federal government has the resources to do things that could really change stuff, but it hasn't done it. It's like some kind of behemoth that's just slow moving and not very responsive to the needs of people. You know, this thing with Hillary Clinton, when she got out there and began to talk to real people about what's going on, it seems to have made a difference in her thinking to where she's talking about how we should be spending an extra $750 million a year on prevention and treatment. That would really be something if it could come true. We need more of the federal officials going out and meeting real people and seeing what's going on in this country. The other major problem we're having, as far as I can tell, is the FDA. Now, the FDA is stuck with a particular phrase that I think dominates the reason for a lot of the craziness that comes out of there, and that phrase is safe and effective if taken as directed. This phrase makes absolutely no sense when it comes to addictive drugs. It's like safe and effective if taken as directed. If you're addicted to it, how can you take it as directed? You're not going to do it. So when the FDA approves things, they don't seem to take into account the reality of addiction. If you look for things like black box warnings, there's a black box warning on Vicodin and on Norco, but the black box warning has nothing to do with opioids. It has to do with the acetaminophen and the potential for liver toxicity, which is a relatively rare event compared to the 16,000 people who've died from prescription opioids in the past year. So it's just nuts that that's the way the black box warning reads. This whole thing with the pediatric OxyContin actually just blew me away. Not only because, like Andrew says, they didn't have an advisory committee meeting, but because of the fact that we're talking about people with developing brains. The NIDA has done a lot of research on marijuana and the developing brain. We don't have the research on the opioids and the developing brain, but I can tell you there is research that demonstrates that the younger a person is when they receive prescription opioids for treatment of a medical problem for the first time, the more likely they are to become an addict. But to me, this has not entered into things that the FDA is even thinking about. They're thinking about the fact that we now have data on how often 11 to 16-year-olds will develop constipation from the opioids. And this stuff is just not that important compared to the potential of them developing addiction to the opioids. And we don't know how often they do it, and you don't know, none of us know, when the doctor says the first time to you, here, let me give you some Vicodin, because that'll help you with the pain from getting your tooth extracted. Nobody knows the percentage likelihood that the person is going to become addicted and eventually overdose and eventually potentially die from those opioids. We need to know that information before the FDA continues to approve drugs just because they're safe and effective if taken as directed. Anyway, those changes are going to come, and they're going to come because of people like you out there. I have never seen a group of people so hardworking, so committed, and so dedicated as the people who are involved in this field. Thank you so much.